Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the Thames Valley. Cleaning up after a river of sewage ran through their home in Wantage. People there tell us they're worried about when and where it could happen again.
We can't use the garden, I think, for 3 weeks now. We can't let our dog out here, so we're not going to be able to eat anything that we grow for 12 months.
Community cafe in Winchester says work on a nearby bridge is costing them thousands. The council says the work, which is set to last most of the year, is vital.
Also this Monday, are the Royals heading in the right direction? Paul Ince's side believe they can beat the drop.
And the forgotten stories of the Triangle Girls and why the pioneering roles they played in the Great War are finally being recognised. Good evening. We may have seen a dry and sunny day today, but disruption has continued for many after the deluge on Friday and into the weekend. Floodplains and storm drains overflowed in areas across the Thames Valley as the infrastructure struggled to cope.
Well, a major supermarket in Abingdon had to turn customers away again as its car park remained underwater. And one couple have been taking stock of their losses after a manhole cover burst open, bringing sewage from nearby homes into their garage and garden. Wesley Smith reports.
This was how the nightmare began for Louise Matthews as raw sewage rushed through her garage at Wantage in Oxfordshire. A manhole cover in her garden lifted under the force of water during a day of relentless rain. She lost power and her freezer and tumble dryer were ruined. Today, time to take stock and sort out a long list for the insurance assessor.
We're still in quite a lot of shock, I think, still feeling a little bit traumatised by it all. To watch it rising around your home and to have to walk through it all to get out has been really horrible. We can't use the garden, I think, for 3 weeks now. We can't let our dog out here, so we're having to take her across the road. We're not going to be able to eat anything that we grow for 12 months.
And your husband had to dash out and get the sandbags?
He did dash out and get sandbags, and him and my daughter are out here wading in it all, trying to sort all that out to stop it coming into the house.
I mean, it was I have to say, it still smells.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's better than it was, and it's a lot cleaner than it was, but it's very unpleasant. And as you can see, there's still bits of tissue and things in the flower beds and in the fence. It makes me concerned going forward about whether it's going to happen again, especially because with climate change there will be a lot more storms. I say thank you to our church friends who have helped us out. They've given us, somebody came yesterday with a fridge and a freezer for us to use, and they've given us some meals and cared for us. So I'd like to thank Wantage Community Church.
Thames Water apologised and say a burst main in Carterton caused issues across the area, although this is some miles from Louise's home in Wantage. Drivers face the dilemma of what to do as roads flooded in Didcot and here on the main road from Caversham to Woodcote. But although most floods have receded, a major supermarket in Abingdon stayed closed again today as they turned away customer after customer after the car park became fit only for ducks. The River Ock is still running pretty high today here in Abingdon. For much of the year it resembled something of a stream in this particular stretch. It flowed out into the floodplain, which it's supposed to do, but the rain was so heavy that it breached even that and flooded the supermarket car park. Tesco apologised and say their maintenance team needs to ensure their store is safe for colleagues and customers. March was a particularly wet month, and it's unlikely this will be the last time we see our rivers overflow. But back in Wantage, Louise Matthews is hoping against hope she never has to deal with neighbourhood sewage on her doorstep again. Wesley Smith, ITV News.
No further action is to be taken against a 61-year-old man who was arrested following the discovery of a woman's body in a marina near Reading. The man from Caversham was arrested on suspicion of murder after the woman was recovered from the water at the Thames and Kennet Marina on Saturday morning. Police say her death is being treated as unexplained, and officers have thanked the local community for their patience and understanding while the investigation takes place.
A fire which badly damaged a house in Oxford was started accidentally, according to the fire service. Crews were called to the house in Routh Road in Barton on Friday evening. Officers say the house was well alight and it took them more than an hour to bring the flames under control. No one was injured.
New CCTV images have been released of a man who has been missing from Abingdon for 11 days. Terry, who's 48, was last seen at his local Co-op store in Abingdon On Thursday, the 23rd of March, the CCTV shows the clothing he was wearing at the time. He's also known to be often in Wantage, Didcot and in Oxford.
A community cafe in Winchester says the closure of a main route into the city is having a severe financial impact and it may be forced to lay off staff.
The closure of Garnier Road is to allow major work on Tunbridge, a 100-year-old bridge costing £1.4 million.
Hampshire County Council insists the work is vital, but some say the work, set to last much of the year, is highly disruptive. With more, here's Mike Pearce.
The Handlebar Cafe opened in 2019 with the aim of raising money to promote cycling in Winchester. But now it's facing a crisis with the closure of this bridge next to it, one of the key routes into the city until November. With fewer passing motorists, trade is down by up to £3,000 a week.
The impact you can see straight away in our sales, and for us, you know, because we have a lot of part-time staff, they just here, you know, for their money for 1 or 2 days a week, and if we quiet, we're not going to be able to offer them that, you know, that work, and it's not good for them, it's not good for us.
The cafe at St Catherine's Hill funds bespoke cycling, a not-for-profit organisation who also repair and hire bikes. Staff say they're concerned.
I think potentially some of us might lose our roles, which would be a real shame, because obviously if the takings aren't what they need to be, with the overheads as well in this current climate, then it'll need to be looked at and reassessed.
The closure is also impacting local people. While on one hand it's disruptive, many agree the work is needed for safety reasons.
What the council's going to say is that we've got to do the work at some point.
Yeah. Oh, they could just minimise the weight on the bridge. You know, just have it for cars. But, yeah.
I think it's probably having an impact on the way people drive. They obviously can't use the road and it makes the other areas more congested. And I would imagine on this cafe it's having an impact because less people are going to be coming down this road to park and go for a walk.
Impact for you?
Yeah, the school run every day adds 5 minutes, so it is what it is, I suppose.
Well, Hampshire County Council say this is a 100-year-old structure that is in need of repair. They say they've phased the work to ensure pedestrian access, and they've also provided free parking spaces in the nearby Park and Ride to try to help the cafe.
The County Council also say the work is complex and agree it will be disruptive. They say in light of the cafe's comments, they'll be reviewing signage and doing all they can to ensure people know it's still open. But for now, the cafe continues to struggle. Mike Pearce, ITV News, Winchester.
Oxford's Broad Street was cordoned off earlier and the university's Western Library evacuated because of a suspicious package. A tourist bus was also taped off, but police later said it was a false alarm.
Emergency engineering work has seen GWR trains cancelled between Oxford and Didcot Parkway and cross-country trains between Oxford and Reading. Urgent repairs have been needed to a bridge. Meanwhile, engineering works over the Easter weekend will see buses replace trains from Friday until Monday between Reading and Andover, as well as between Woking, Winchester and Andover. South Western Railway is urging passengers to plan ahead as some train services could start and end at different stations.
This summer's Henley Royal Regatta will take place on Tuesday the 27th of June until Sunday the 2nd of July. It's been confirmed. Tickets have gone on sale today to members of the general public for one of the highlights of the summer social and sporting calendar. Last year, the regatta attracted crews from all over the world, with a record 419 crews qualifying from 17 nations.
You're watching ITV News Meridian here in the Thames Valley. Thank you so much for watching us. Still to come. The Missing People charity is 30 years old. We look at how it's helped thousands of families as they deal with the trauma of not knowing where their loved ones are.
Also still to come, Andrew will be here with the sport, including the highlights from Reading's half marathon at the weekend.
And remember, you can find more on today's top stories from right across the Thames Valley by heading to our website. Just go to itv.com/Meridian. You can call us, the numbers on your screen there, and you can follow us. That's on Facebook, Twitter and on Instagram.
Now the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30. With more, here's Charlene White.
A life sentence for the man who killed a schoolgirl in Liverpool. Thomas Cashman refused to appear in court as he was sentenced for shooting dead 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Corbell in her own home last year. Thousands of schools in England are to be hit by more teacher strikes as unions reject the latest pay offer. Clamping down on abuse towards grassroots referees, the FA launches the world's first body cam trial.
Hello.
And a blast from the past. We mark 50 years since the first ever mobile phone call. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Charlie, look forward to that. Now, Missing People has helped thousands of families cope since it was formed by two sisters in a spare bedroom 30 years ago today.
Well, it remains the only charity of its kind in the UK and has given support to families, including Fatima Mohammed Ali's, who's been missing from Sussex for 7 years. With more, here's Emily Knight.
Mohammed Ali from New Haven in East Sussex should be preparing to celebrate his wife's 60th birthday this month. But instead, as another year passes, he's spending it without her. Fatima Mohammed Ali disappeared on the 12th of February 2016.
It's very hard because, we were a close-knit family, and she always was around the family, always took time to spend as much time with the family, her own children, the grandchildren. It's devastated us all,
Someone is reported missing every 90 seconds in the UK, with 353,000 missing incident cases reported each year and more than 5,000 people classed as long-term missing. Anthony Stammers disappeared in 2012, 11 years on, and his mother Julie still messages him every night before she goes to sleep.
There are days, obviously, I don't want to face the day, I don't want to get up, sometimes I don't sleep very well, and if I do sleep I wake up and I go, damn, I am in this nightmare.
If someone has said to me, one of your children will be missing for nearly 11 years, you couldn't comprehend it.
Founded in 1993, Missing People was the idea of the late sisters Janet Newman and Mary Asprey. They were friends with the family of estate agent Susie Lamplugh, who went missing in 1986. The sisters saw the trauma her family went through and set up a helpline.
Setting up the charity in the way that they did, from something very small in a back bedroom to now a national organisation, and also ensuring that the issue of missing is there in people's minds, because I think back at the beginning people had no idea the kind of devastation that missing causes for a family.
From a telephone helpline and faces on milk bottles to delivery drivers and digital billboards 30 years on, the way appeals are made has changed, but the issue has not gone away. Broadcaster Sir Trevor MacDonald is patron of the charity and has been with them since the start.
It has affected me because I have understood, which I never did before, the depth of the problem. Also, I never thought of the shared numbers of people. I had no idea of, the magnitude of what we were actually dealing with. You never get away from the agony and the misery which people share with us when they talk about their missing ones. And I understand the absolute necessity of giving support to people who are in this predicament.
Anthony's family, like many others affected by a missing loved one, all say the same, that support is vital and that the Missing People charity are the nicest people you never want to meet. Emily Knight, ITV News.
Well, Susanna Drury is from Missing People. Susanna, thank you for talking to us today. Firstly, how do you support families in this awful position?
Well, Missing People is here as an organisation to support families as well as people who are missing, and we're here 365 days a year, and we're here for as long as it takes. So we know that some families are left waiting for years for answers to what might have happened to their missing loved one, and they're left in that agonising limbo, desperate for news, hoping for the best at the same time as fearing for the worst. And for many families it gets harder over time as well. So at Missing People we're here for as long as people need us to be, offering support, and that can be emotional support, support with the search, specialist counselling, and also opportunities for families to come together and support each other, because we know that it can be a really isolating experience having a loved one missing. It can be really hard to explain the emotions that you're going through, so having the chance to be with people who understand and can help each other can make a real difference as well.
And the charity has been going for 30 years now. What's changed over that time?
So we've learned over the last 30 years much more about why people go missing and what support they need. And we know for adults that the most common reason for people to go missing is that they're in mental health crisis, and sadly many of those people are suicidal. And we've seen a growth in the number of young people who are really experiencing mental health issues as one of the long-term impacts of the pandemic too. And for young people, the other issue that we've really grown to understand in recent years is the link between missing and exploitation. So a lot of young people are going missing because they've been pulled into exploitative situations. And for all of those people, we really would urge you to get in touch with the charity, and we can provide specialist support to make sure that you're safe and able to get any help that you need.
Good advice. Susanna Drury from Missing People, thank you.
Thank you.
In League One, the chase for the playoffs is still on for Portsmouth. After another 3 points at the weekend, means Pompey are now just 3 points off the top 6. Portsmouth celebrated their 125th anniversary with a crucial win over Duncan Ferguson's bottom place Forest Green. Owen Dale's goal setting the team up nicely for matches against struggling MK Dons and Morecambe over the Easter weekend. For Oxford United, it's now 12 matches without a win. Though they did have the best chance of the game, Yannick Wildschut unable to find his way through. In the Championship, Reading picked up their first away point of the year, Lucas Yao with the equaliser. It means the Royals are 7 points above the drop zone, with a possible 6-point deduction hanging over them. In League Two, Swindon had a fabulous start with Russian Hepburn Murphy scoring a belter after 4 minutes. But it was a terrible ending as second from bottom Hartlepool scored an injury time winner. It means Crawley are now just 2 points above the relegation zone, with their 5-game unbeaten run coming to an end. Mazzy Dagungbo with Crawley's late reply, ahead of Easter weekend games against promotion-chasing Bradford and Barrow. In the Women's Super League, it was a tough weekend for Reading and Brighton. Reading's defeat at Leicester means Brighton are now bottom of the table, having gone 9 matches without a win. Following this defeat, at top of the table, Manchester United. Next up for the Albion women, an FA Cup semi-final in 2 weeks' time against Manchester United. But it was a wonderful weekend for the runners in our region. They included those taking part in the half and full marathon in Southampton. Thank you to our colleague Derek Johnson for running and filming. Show off. There was also the Bournemouth Bay Run and the Reading Half Marathon in its 41st year. Well, the Brighton Marathon saw 12,000 people register to run along the seaside. First across the line was Marshall Smith, running his first ever marathon. He finished 12 minutes ahead of anyone else.
Feels absolutely incredible. I'm a bit shocked, but the plan was to try and make a move at about 15 miles, and it turned out to be 4. So it was quite a lonely run, but I'm very pleased with how it went.
And to each and every one of you who took part, we salute you. Even Derek Johnson.
Quite wanted to see the selfie cam of Derek.
Oh, yeah, that's not quite as pretty.
And can I just mention Nikki and Isaac, who ran the Reading half.
Brilliant.
Well done to them.
Well
and it's a charity.
Absolutely.
Good cause. Thank you, Andrew. Now, they were known as Triangle Girls, named after the badge that gained them entry into their new workplace. These were the women who took over the jobs of men in the dockyard in Portsmouth during the Great War, carrying out dangerous and often back-breaking work.
Well, their contribution was vital for the war effort, and yet they faced hostility and resentment at the time and later were largely forgotten. Well, now these pioneers are taking centre stage again thanks to a project designed to teach new generations about them. Here's Derek Johnson.
Portsmouth's long links to warships and the Royal Navy is well known, and work continues restoring historic vessels. Forgotten until now, though, the women who kept the dockyard going during the First World War. One of them was Lorna Howes.
I knew that she worked in ammunitions, but not to the extent that we found out. We have 4 granddaughters, and I'd like to sort of pass on that legacy to them. Let them know about the history of a strong woman.
In an age where women were still calling for the vote, there was scepticism they could even work in heavy industry. But these crews proved all doubters wrong.
There were 1,786 of them working in the dockyard at the end of the First World War. The men had been conscripted to go and fight, but obviously the nation still needed ships to be built to help for the war effort. So they were doing everything from welding to block building to electronics and engineering. Yeah, they made the whole thing happen.
They wore on their tunics or their overalls a triangular badge which said "on war service." As the years went on and the history books record women working in the dockyards, the triangle bit got dropped, and so did a lot of the story and the impact of that story.
The lives of the Triangle Girls, as they were known, have now been recorded in a project that's been launched by the Portsmouth Royal Dockyard Historical Trust and the University of Portsmouth. Their research is now in an education pack being handed out to local schools. Cheryl Jewett discovered that she was the granddaughter of a Triangle Girl. Clara Jones worked alongside those men who weren't conscripted.
I couldn't have been more proud. All those women, it was tough for them, doing really skilled work with very little training, and the men were quite resentful in some instances. I've been quoted, somebody said that they would often find a dead rat on their workstations, so they had a lot to contend with.
They were pioneers. These were women that wanted to do their bit for the war effort. People know about the Women's Land Army, they know a lot about other roles, not necessarily the women that worked in the dockyard, which, they played a key role in maintaining the Royal Navy's fighting capacity during the First World War.
I feel quite cross about it. I think, we've had to wait 100 years and more to have recognition for these women who did a wonderful job, but they were never appreciated, and the fact there was no medals, nothing, no extra money, no pay rise, nothing for them. I wish I'd known her more, I wish I'd known her.
For too long, the Triangle Girls were written out of history. Thanks to this project, they take their rightful place now in Portsmouth's long and illustrious military story. Derek Johnson, ITV News, Portsmouth.
I love we do stories like this, but I always wonder, why don't we get taught this stuff in school?
I don't know. But
We've got our programme.
Yeah, but great that they're being remembered. Let's go to check on the weather forecast with the details. Here's Sally.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello there, a very good evening to you. Hope you had a good Monday as well as some lovely sunshine. We've now got baby bunnies too. Spring can be very kind when it wants to. And a nice day tomorrow, dry and sunny, but more cloud on Wednesday with rain moving in later and into Thursday. But the bank holiday weekend looks set to get off to a settled start. Now, this evening with sunset not until 20 to 8, some nice evening sunshine for you, but those clear skies mean the temperatures are going to drop down. So a chilly old start to Tuesday with some frost likely in certain areas and maybe even a little bit of shallow mist and fog. Our temperatures could well in the countryside get down to below freezing. So it will be cold as we crack on with Tuesday, but hopefully a nice start for you with some lovely sunshine around and probably a little bit less cloud than today. And temperatures touch cooler on the coast where it might be a bit breezier, but getting up to 11 or 12 degrees, not feeling too bad in the sunshine. And then as we head into the latter part of the afternoon and evening, just a bit more cloud moving in from the west, things turning a bit hazier. And cloud is the theme really for Wednesday, ahead of this front bringing rain later on the day and overnight. It stays unsettled as we head into Thursday, but looking up by Friday. That's it. I'll see you later on. Cheerio.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
And that is it from us for this evening. In a moment, of course, the ITV Evening News with the details this evening. It's Charlene White.
And Rachel Hepworth will be here with your late news. But from all of us here, thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I want to...